the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
Hey guys, this is Michael Silva, and you're listening to Business Story of the Week.
Fantastic. And that is the man himself, Michael J. Silva. And of course, my name is Joshua. I am your host for today. Every day in every episode, we ask you guys a question. And today's question is, what is the secret to running faster, longer, and pain-free? Well, Michael Silva right here is the perfect guest to answer that question for today. Of course, Michael Silva is a seasoned expert in fitness and physical therapy with over 25 years of experience. He founded and grew Foundation Performance Sports Medicine into a successful practice before selling it in 2021. Michael is also the creator of RunStrong program, an educational platform for runners and coaches, which has helped thousands improve performance and reduce injuries. Today, he now dedicates his time to coaching healthcare service practices, private practices, and he is now achieving dreams, helping others achieve their dreams of growth and excellence through his business coaching. And I'm quite excited to talk about his career, his insights today. Michael, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Joshua. How are you?
I'm doing great, Michael.
Awesome.
Like I said, I think before we started this recording, I'm quite excited to talk a little bit about the running aspect of your career, of your life. But
Yeah.
what was a young Michael like? Did he love running all the time? Was he a really
Whoa.
fit kid? What would the young Michael say to the Michael of today?
So the young Michael was not a distance runner. The young
Hmm.
Michael was a meathead football player.
Oh, wow.
And I
Okay.
say the meathead in a loving way, but yeah, I was a sprinter, football player, basketball, the typical traditional sports.
Hmm.
And I never ran more than a mile until I met my wife, who was a triathlete when I met her.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so
Very cool.
I wasn't in the distance running world, and when I
Hmm.
started to practice, my intent was not to get in the distance running world, but
Hmm.
I kept my eyes open for opportunities, and a great opportunity fell in my lap, and it ended up being the next 20 years of my life, and I do not regret it at all because I had amazing clients of
Very
all
cool.
shapes and sizes and levels, and it helped me build a practice that I was really proud of. It was a fun run when we had it. No pun
Wow.
intended.
Well, of course, that was your runstrong.com, which I feel is still, is it still going on right now?
Yeah. So RunStrong
Yes.
is all web based. RunStrong started as a strengthening class that I did for runners. So the practice that you mentioned, Foundation Performance Sports Medicine,
Hmm.
was where I spent most of my time. So we
Hmm.
grew it. I was about to open my fourth office when I decided to sell at the end of 2021. So within my work with runners, helped grow the physical therapy practice. So we were really well known in the New England area for working with distance runners. So we got a lot of
Interesting.
really motivated distance runners, which was great. And then RunStrong was a spin-off of the work I was doing with all my runners in person.
Very, very cool. Well, that puts us back to the question, how do you run faster, longer, and pain-free? Well, I guess you should go to runstrong.com and ask Michael yourself.
Well,
Well,
that's a loaded question. And if I had a nickel for every time someone asked me that, I would have been retired a long time ago.
that is too funny. That is that. I mean, which is true. I used to run myself. I think the reason I stopped is because I have a leg discrepancy. My left leg is a little bit shorter because of an accident long ago. But that kind of this imbalance just made me feel like I don't know if I can keep running for and like for life got busy, life gets in the way, and I'd love to get back into running eventually, of course. Any advice on that leg discrepancy there?
Yeah, so what you have, we would call it non-modifiable risk factor, meaning that's the way you're built. It's not
Yes.
like you can get stronger and make those
Hmm.
legs even, but there are
Hmm.
modifications you can make depending on the leg length discrepancy, whether it's an insert into your shoe or getting a special shoe
There you
made
go.
to make up the difference. But if you have adequate mobility, stability, and postural awareness.
Right.
Unless it's a really big. Have you measured the difference?
The difference is about it's not too big, maybe 2 centimeters, but
Oh yeah,
just enough to kind of throw you off,
yeah. Oh no, I've seen people with bigger discrepancies that were able
Hmm.
to run.
Fantastic,
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
definitely some work you got to do to prepare yourself. So going
Hmm.
back to your original question, what can you do to run faster, longer, and not be in pain?
Hmm.
It starts from knowing who you are, where your lowest hanging fruit is as far as your physical health. If
Yes,
you want to get deeper, as far as your physical, mental, and emotional health, where's the
yes,
where's the lowest hanging fruit because they're all involved. And why do you run? Most people
that's it.
can't even answer that question until they really sit down and think about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
I use the term. A lot of my clients were either running towards something or running away from something.
Yes,
I had a lot of clients who battled addiction and they used running to help do that, which was great. So keeping them pain free and keeping them running was a matter of life and death for some of them. So it was really rewarding to help them continue to do that. And other people were running towards something. They just wanted to raise money for a good organization and do a marathon or just
yes,
check that
yes, of
box
course.
on their bucket list.
I love that because I do have a lot of friends, and I feel like it's also how I manage my own my own problems when it comes to substance to abuse, and I've had a lot of friends who were deeper into that, and they use running as a way to overcome that. I love that you mentioned that. Of course, today you've taken that experience, you've taken all that uh, insight right now, Michael, where you coach businesses, you coach private practices and
Mhm.
healthcare as well. It's quite interesting, though, the transition of that. When did you start thinking, or what was a pivotal moment where you said, like, "Hey, I'm going to get into business coaching. I feel like I've done a lot of healthcare and physical therapy now, and I want to take this experience into business coaching." Why
Right.
business coaching? What was that transition like?
So I got to give my wife credit for this because she definitely
Uh,
encouraged me to go towards it. So
Go,
the
Mrs.
running.
Silva.
Well, yeah, right. So the running has always been a part of my professional life. It always will
Hmm.
be. So I still do work with runners on the side, and
Yes.
I do virtual gait analysis and runners from all over the country. I just got myself out of the quote physical therapy world because my
Yes.
hands took a beating, and I did it for 24 years, and it
Wow.
was a good run. Yeah.
Wow.
So I
That
wanted
is
to
a
do
good run.
something different. And when I
Hmm.
sold the business, I wasn't quite sure what that was going to be. And then my wife was like, you've been doing this a long time. You probably have forgotten more things than people know about running a small business, especially private practice. And I also grew up, my parents owned a small business when I was growing up. They had a beer and wine
Hmm.
and deli that I grew up in and helped them. So I had that small business experience and then starting my practice.
Hmm.
So I decided, okay, maybe I'll give this a go and started a consulting business. And within a week of deciding to do that, I got my first client, not
Whoa.
even through any great marketing. He just happened through a connection, reached out to me and asked if I could help him start up a practice. And we
Oh,
did.
wow.
And we're now on our seventh or eighth month working together. And he's going to build a thriving practice. And he's finding a lot of value in what I do, which is really rewarding and validating for the time I'm
Wow.
putting into this.
Wow.
And yeah, like when I first started, I even looked at my wife. I'm like, why are people paying me? Like, do I have that much value to bring? And then through the clients I've had, I realized like there is a lot of value. I have a lot of experiences. I have a lot of wins and losses in my
Hmm.
career,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to coach people so they don't make the mistakes that I did. Some of them were pretty costly, and try to help them have some of the wins that I did, and
Hmm.
just coach them to be the leaders and practice owners they want to be and develop the business of their dreams. And
Wow.
I'm just here helping them along the way.
That is fascinating. And of course, it must feel validating that people are just like, hey, throwing their money at you, and you're like, oh wow, I have quite some value too. But kidding aside, Michael, of course, your extensive experience is testament to the clients that are approaching you, and you've been helping people since 1995. It says in your website. but now you're doing it in a different kind of angle. Michael, talk to us a little bit about what you do and what sets you apart when it comes to business consulting. Because, of course, you talk about you have your physical therapy experience, your healthcare experience. What is it like working with clients, and what is it like working with you?
It's a great question. As soon as you mentioned that date, I just have to ask, were you even born in 1995?
I may not look like it, Michael, but yes.
You were, okay. Yeah, you look very, very young, so I was a little
Thank you,
nervous there.
thank you, Michael. I was born in '89, so
All right.
I was been running around and being, like a really, energetic kid during that time.
Well, man, you look like you're 20 years old, so good for you. Keep it up.
Thank you so much.
So I think what I bring to business coaching, and
Mhm,
it might not be drastically different than certain other coaches out there, but I really
mhm,
focus first on helping my clients find who they're passionate working with, like their avatar, their ideal customer, whatever term you want to use, but what really brings them joy. When I was a therapist, I almost left the world of physical therapy because I was
mhm,
working in a facility I didn't really love with clients that were just not motivated and they weren't really filling my cup. And I almost left the world of PT. I was like burnt and depressed and wasn't happy with what I was doing
mhm,
until we decided that we are going to open our own practice.
mhm.
And then I used the mantra from the movie Field of Dreams: if you build it, they will come. Right.
Yes, yes, that's it. That's it.
So what I did is I built a practice to attract, health conscious, fitness oriented
Mhm.
individuals who really wanted to improve as a human, not just physically, but in general,
I
just
love
really
that.
improve,
I love that.
versus people who were forced to be there by their lawyers or their workers' comp companies or their
Mhm,
doctors, and they didn't want anything to do with us when they got there.
mhm.
So every decision I made was to build and attract that clientele. So that's the
Right.
first thing I do with my clients, find out who that is. For some people, it
Mhm.
might be stroke patients. For some people, it might
Right.
be the elderly. For some people, it might be pediatrics. There might be
Mhm,
some that want to do runners or high school athletes. So whatever
mhm,
it is, making all those decisions to point them in the direction of attracting their ideal client, and then building an ultimate experience for that clientele. I think not knowing what I was doing, I guess by accident, everything in our offices was geared towards the clientele I wanted. I mean, it wasn't by accident. I knew why I was doing it, but I didn't realize that it was going to help me market and retain our clients and attract more clients just by vibrant colors on the walls. We had the equipment and the technology that runners and fitness minded people wanted. We had
right.
healthy pictures and we had
Mhm,
sports. We had autographed pictures of some of my Olympic runners on the wall. So we
mhm.
had all these things that was just fed into the sports fitness minded type of person.
Right.
So again, that was what we did for our practice, but for my clients, whatever that is, trying to give, talk about the client touch points and how to build an unbelievable client experience so that
Mhm.
when they leave there, they're just like mind blown, like not even if they can put their finger on it or verbalize it, but it was just such a good experience. Not only they getting help, reducing pain, improving physically, but they felt heard, they felt validated, they felt cared
Mhm.
for. There was a sense of hospitality and warmth there, which
I
is
love that.
missing in the medical world in a lot of
Mhm.
places. So I think
Imagine.
by doing that, by knowing who you're serving and serving them better than anyone else, I will bet a lot of money that you're going to have a thriving practice by putting a lot of effort into those two things before you even open the doors.
Wanting to help others as well. I bet this is the a great main criteria there.
Yeah,
It's funny that you said mentioned that for healthcare practices, you'll find practices that aren't really, very compassionate, so to speak, and
right.
that is quite alarming. But of course, we've seen it everywhere, and I think it's not just, of course, it's not just exclusive to healthcare practices. But I love that you point that out, Michael, because it's important to point out what is it that you really want to serve? Who is it that you really want to serve in order to have a thriving business? Of course, you mentioned Olympians there just now. Of course, for
Yeah.
our audience and listeners out there, from you have helped 12 Olympic runners, achieve their dreams as well. Michael, talk to us a little bit about coaching Olympians, the difference between coaching Olympians and consulting for businesses in order to thrive in their practice, be an Olympian in their own industry.
Right. So, the word coaching has a lot of definitions. So when
Yes.
I talk about my work with runners, I'm not a run coach. I've really functioned as a strength and conditioning specialist and a
Mm-hmm.
physical therapist. But
Mm-hmm.
through that, I coach them for optimal self-care, how to
Mm-hmm.
prepare their bodies for their workouts, how to recover properly from their workouts. And, Olympic athletes are there for a reason. And I can sum it up they have a few things. One is just they are tough as nails and they can endure ungodly amounts of pain that most people just won't put themselves through, and they do it on a daily basis with their
Oof.
workouts. There's
Oof.
a natural gift that they have,
Wow.
and they have just this work ethic that you can't even bottle. You can't even take it from them. They're just
Yes.
hardworking, tough, talented people. They're the most motivated clients I've ever worked with. So it
Wow.
was great. And I had runners from all over the world, which was great. And they didn't come to me just for me. I would love to say they did, but there was a world-renowned coach here in Rhode Island as well. So a lot of
Uh-huh.
them were being coached. He was their running coach, and then I
Mm-hmm.
was the guy who helped them, keep the pain away
Yeah.
or get rid of their injuries and keep them strong and mobile. So it was fun. It was a small percent of what we did. We treated thousands and thousands of runners over the years between my team and the offices we had. And they're just the elite distance runners are humble and just really, really good people. I enjoyed every single one I worked with.
Wow. I mean, it's quite the journey. Like you said, these guys are the best at what they do, and they're the pinnacle of their industry.
Yeah.
Do you see these similarities when it comes to business consulting? What are the different challenges? Are there any similar challenges or one difference that stands out to you specifically when you're consulting for business?
So it's a really good question. I wasn't ready for that one, Joshua. I think, well, you know what? No matter if you're a runner or you're a business owner, it goes back
Mhm.
to what I said before. Like, what's your why,
That's it.
right? So, why are you running can help guide the decisions you make for yourself and for your running.
Mhm.
Why are you in business can help
Mhm.
guide the decisions you make. Are you in there just to get as many people in the door and make as much money as you can, and you don't care about the quality of service? If
Mhm.
that's the case, I'm not going to be your business coach, but um, um, Godspeed, and I hope you reach your goals. But
Mhm.
why is the foundation of what a lot of the coaching is built off of. Like if you're passionate about a certain population of patients that you want to work with,
Right.
and
Uh-huh.
you have the means and now a little guidance to get there, then in my opinion, you're going to be as successful as an Olympic athlete.
That's it. I mean, these Olympic athletes, they also have very clear why, very big whys of what they do and why they
Yes, they
enjoy
do.
their pain. And it's probably it's not just the gold. I mean, the gold would be nice, but I feel like just the endurance of of achieving your dreams, much like with business, it takes a lot of endurance, it takes a lot of patience,
It
because if
does.
you're not relentless, then you're not going to achieve your business dream, so to speak.
You're just spot on there, and you just made me think of something else. Like,
Hmm.
in running, I realize, especially working with elite athletes, there's a lot of
Hmm.
pressure. So if
Hmm.
there's an injury, not only is there a physical injury,
Hmm.
but there's a mental and emotional component to that as well. Because
Hmm.
if they can't get back and run the next big race, their sponsor may drop them. Their
Right, of
sponsor is
course,
how they feed themselves and how they pay their rent or their mortgage.
of
So
course.
there's a lot of pressure. Optimal self-care and building a
Right.
good foundation for them is key so they don't get into that situation where they can't run and possibly lose a sponsorship.
Hmm.
Business is the same thing. There's a mental and emotional component to business. Well, I learned that the hard way, and
Right.
it's not just long days of physical work, but the emotional and mental toll when people's health is in your hands. At one point, I had up to 25 employees, and their livelihood and the support of their families depended on how successful our business was. So there was pressure,
Wow.
there was anxiety with that.
Wow.
So everything in life is all encompassing. And I think as I get older and turn into this older hippie, I'm realizing that, you know, your spirituality, your emotional health, your mental health, and your physical health are all connected for sure. You
Hmm.
don't need to be an A+ student in all of them, but
Hmm.
just try to get you to a B+ in all of them.
That's it.
I think success will come from that.
Exactly. Like I said, I think it's a great analogy between, being an Olympian or being a medal Olympian, it's yes, it's nice to have that medal, but I feel like just being an Olympian alone is such a massive, massive achievement that shouldn't be, frowned upon. Everyone
No,
should be proud of, and but more than that is because people are relying on you. People are actually, the people surrounding you who are supporting you is also relying on that success, and I think that really puts it into perspective. Not just athletics, not just business, but life in general. I love
yeah.
that you left us that little bit of reminder there, Michael. Of course, the website is michaeljsilva.com. Michael, where else can we connect with you? Where else can we find you? We'd love to learn
Yeah,
more.
so michaeljsilva.com is where I have my public speaking and my consulting information. So if anyone's
Mhm.
interested in talking business or anything to do with business and self-care, you can reach out to me there. MyRunStrong.com is where I house all the running programs that I have. And if anyone's interested in doing a slow motion video analysis, you can get a hold of me through there. I'm
Mhm.
not super active in social media, but a little bit on Instagram under my name, Michael J. Silva, and then on LinkedIn as well. And I'm sure you can put something in the show notes if people want to reach out. I'd be more than happy to just have a free talk with any of your listeners.
Absolutely. And of course, um, I just gave you a follow on Instagram. We are already connected on LinkedIn as well. And of
Yep.
course, for our audience and listeners out there, we're going to put up all the links in the description below. Make sure to go check out Michael himself. If you want to book a consulting call with him, we'll put that up there in there. Of course, Michael, before we truly end this, before we let this go, talk to us a little bit about your book. And it's coming out, it's almost there. What's it going to
Oh
be?
man, I'd love to say it's almost there, but I think I've been saying that for 5 months. Yeah, so with all my experience with runners, I'm writing a book now
Mhm.
that's on its third iteration about foundational health for runners. You ask how can you run longer, run faster, and not get hurt. I think we overlook the importance of just general health and go right to like running programs and speed and those types of things. So it's a book on that. And to keep it a little less boring, I'm actually reaching out and getting interviews from a lot of my old clients to talk about what self care and different aspects of self care meant to them. Hopefully throw a few pictures of some Olympians in there and get people excited to read it.
All right, fantastic. Of course, you also have your book out there, which is called right now. Talk to us a little bit about that. It's called Path to Practice of Your Dreams. This is your business consulting book. Where can we find this, Michael?
Yeah, so this is an ebook, so it's only about a 12 pager.
Hmm.
I can give it to you and you can put it in the show notes if you'd like. Anyone who's listening can access it for free. It's a free
Fantastic.
download. Yeah,
Right.
it basically just talks about what I call the 5 O's, which are the
Hmm.
5 pillars to building a successful business. It's
Hmm.
not just for healthcare private practice, even though it's pretty heavily focused on that. I think if
Hmm.
anyone looked at that, they could build a pretty solid foundation for any business that they're looking to start.
All right. Very, very cool. To all our audience and listeners out there, with the website, it's michaeljsilva.com. Go check out myrunstrong.com as well. Find that ebook up on the description. Michael, it's been great. It's been fun. This was a good run, wouldn't you say?
It was, and I appreciate it, Joshua.
Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on to the show. To all our audience and listeners out there, thank you for watching the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We will see you on the next one. Bye bye.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.